The concept of meaning is something we humans often ponder. What's the meaning of the world? What's the meaning of life? What's my role in this world? These are questions we ask ourselves from time to time as we try to find meaning in our existence. Meaning is essential for people, but we need it most when we're in pain. Why am I going through this? What's the meaning of this suffering? One person who tried to find meaning in his suffering was psychiatrist Viktor Frankl, author of Man's Search for Meaning. He lived through some of the most painful experiences imaginable. Frankl spent 3 years in a Nazi concentration camp, enduring horrific torture, hunger, and deadly diseases. In such harsh conditions, the only way to survive was to cling to the concept of meaning and look to the future with hope. The moment someone lost that meaning, they would die. This idea forms the foundation of Frankl's book, guided by Nietzsche's famous quote, "He who has a why to live can bear almost any how." So, how did Frankl manage to give meaning to unbearable suffering and overcome it? Logotherapy. Logotherapy means therapy through meaning. Viktor encountered many patients whose lives were as painful as his own and asked them a simple question: why don't you commit suicide? He wasn't trying to encourage them to end their lives. He wanted to understand what kept them holding on. One mother answered, "For my son." A scientist said, "I live for the research I'll write in the future." An elderly person responded, "I live to preserve my precious memories." Drawing from these answers and his experiences in the concentration camp, Frankl developed the logotherapy method, which offers 3 ways to find meaning in life. Dedicate yourself to a cause. He began rewriting his work on small scraps of paper and skillfully hid them. After gaining his freedom, he finished his notes and turned them into a book. This book went on to change millions of lives. The reason Frankl dedicated himself to his work was that he truly believed it was meaningful. Thinking about the book he would eventually publish and the people it would help gave him hope for the future and the strength to endure his suffering. He observed the same thing in others at the camp. Those who dedicated themselves to a cause and dreamed of doing that work after surviving the camp had a much higher survival rate than others. Love. Love selflessly. The fundamental emotion behind any meaning is love. The concept of meaning varies from person to person. Some find meaning in their work because they love it, and some love themselves and find meaning in their own existence. The common thread in all these meanings is love. The emotion that helped Frankl endure his suffering was love too. Throughout his book, he mentions that his love for his wife kept him going. He once said, "The more a person forgets himself by giving himself to a cause to serve or another person to love, the more human he is." You can probably imagine how painful it was for Frankl to learn of his wife's death, though in truth, it's hard to even imagine such a profound pain. Face suffering with courage. After all that happened, Frankl fell into depression, but then he remembered Nietzsche's words again. "He who has a why to live can bear almost any how." Frankl realized that in this situation, the only thing he could do was face his suffering with courage, like a hero. Because one of the defining traits of the greatest heroes is that they endure the greatest suffering. As Frankl said, when suffering finds meaning, it ceases to be suffering.